Hey y'all, today we're going to show you some of the main features about the Open WebUI web application. So let's get started. First, we'll open a web browser and we'll navigate to https://chat.ezevals.com. Okay, and that brings us to the login page. If you already have a login, you'll just log in like with whatever passwords you have saved. If you need to create an account, then talk to me and I'll temporarily enable it. There'll be a little like sign up button down here that you'll click. Okay, for now we'll sign in, and that's how to log in. Okay, now that we've logged in, let's investigate some of the major UI elements. We'll start with the sidebar. So that's this guy over here on the left. If you open the sidebar, there's a lot of options. You can start a new chat, which is what we're at now. You can search existing chats. You can take notes. So this is just like your notes app. You can say like, I like strawberries. Cool. And you can go to the workspace. The workspace is where you add knowledge. We'll get to that later. You've got these channels. Channels are similar to Slack channels, so they're like contextual, organized conversation chains. So in general, I'll post random stuff. In tips, I'll say how to get the best out of some of the models. Feedback is where you can talk to me and say, oh, you want certain features or you see certain bugs. And maintenance is where I'll post if certain features are down. So that's the sidebar. Okay, now that we've explored the sidebar, we're going to look at the different models that are available. So that's up here in this top left corner where it says ChatGPT. You can set a model as your default if you like a specific one. If you want to explore the different models, you can click this drop-down menu, and you can see the different models, how big they are, and if one is currently loaded, there'll be a little green dot next to them. That means it's the one that's going to give you the fastest feedback because it's already kind of in the system. So this ChatGPT one is, as it indicates, ChatGPT's open weight model. Vision is one that's good at analyzing photos and extracting information out of photos. Coder Big is a slow model that is relatively good at coding tasks. Coding Fast, same idea, but it's faster and less capable. But if you need information quickly, maybe it's okay. And then Quinn 3 is like a thinking model. It does a lot of reasoning before it comes up with the answer for you. So play around with these, figure out which one you like. You can click on one and it'll switch to one model versus another. You can even do that in the middle of a conversation. We'll show you that later. But yeah, so those are the different models. The one thing to consider is this B number, so 480.2B, 116.8B. That indicates how large the model is. There's a general linear trade-off between size and speed. So the larger the model is, the slower it is, and it should be roughly by the ratio of billions of parameters. So this like 480 billion parameter model should be roughly two times slower than this 236 billion parameter model, which should be roughly 2 times slower than this 117 billion parameter model. So that's how to think about, models. If you find one is providing you bad information, maybe try a larger model. If you think that one of them is taking too long to give you feedback and you want to iterate more quickly, then, maybe choose a smaller model. Okay, now that we've investigated the models, we're going to look at some of these other settings in the top right corner. So let's start with the high-level overview of our user settings. You've got settings, archive chats, keyboard shortcuts, a way to sign out, and the number of active users. If you find that you're getting slower than normal responses, it could be because there's more than one active user. And the system, there's only one system, so it only responds to one person at a time. But as soon as it finishes responding to the first person, it'll generate the response for the second person. So, if you feel like it's being slow, check here. Maybe that explains it. Most of these other things we don't care about. We can check settings. So we're going to go through all of these high level and not explore things too deeply. We'll come back and explore the more thoroughly some of these other things later. But theme, you can say, if you want to be dark mode, light mode, system, her. I don't know what her is, but you can change the way the system looks and feels. You can enable or disable notifications. These are especially helpful when you have a lot of information that you want the LLM to process, and it takes a while for it to generate the answer or the response. If that's the case, you can turn this on and then navigate away, do other stuff, and then you'll get a little notification in the top right corner that says, when it finishes the response, then you can go look at it. System prompt, high level, is something that's going to get pre-pinned to whatever you send in the chat. We'll talk more about that later. Advanced parameters, there's a lot of stuff here. Most of this you won't care about. I'll make a separate little clip to talk about some of the things that people might care about. Interface, there's a lot of things you can mess around with. If you like my background or want your own, you can set something like that in this interface section. I don't know where it is, but it's somewhere. There's like a way to set, here it is, the chat background image. You can change a lot of things here. I would recommend just exploring the different options, toggling them on and off, and trying new chat prompt responses, and seeing which one you like, and whatever settings that you have here will persist if you close and come back and turn your computer off or whatever. So just find whatever you like, play around with the different options. That's pretty much it. In connections, you probably don't care about this. This is like if you, for example, have access to some other large language model like Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude. There's others, Grok. You can add them here. So you can add the URL. You'll probably need to either Google or use this LLM, use the Easy Eval's website to figure out how to fill this out. It's different for each of the different LLM providers. Personalization. Here you can add memories. These are things that you want the LLM to know across any chat that you generate. So if, for example, you want it to know your name, what you care about, what you're working on, this is a good place to do that. So you can toggle that on. Add a memory. You can say, my name is Rick. Let's add that memory. And so then in future chats, it should respond to me as Rick, like I am, talking to me like I am Rick. and you can add other stuff. You can say like, I am a I don't know, Star Wars enthusiast. Cool. Random stuff. I don't know. Whatever you care about. If it's stuff you're working on, you can say what you're working on. This is just a way for the chat LLM to tailor its response to you. Maybe if there's things that it can do to incorporate this information, maybe it gives you a response that you like more. I don't know. If you think it's weird, don't use it. Invasive, don't use it. But if you find that it helps you, then go for it. Audio, most of this stuff you probably don't care about. We'll get to how to use it later. Data controls, if you want to, for some reason, like delete all the stuff that you've generated, delete all your chats, you want to clear the space, you can do all that here. You can clear your existing chats with archive. They don't disappear, they just disappear from your sidebar. You can delete them, which means they get wiped from memory. You probably don't care about export and import. Account, you can set an avatar. So maybe this little snowman is nice for Rick. And none of this information is used by the LLM. I don't really know why anyone cares about this. You can change your password here. That's cool. An account or about, this shows you what the system is running. So this is the Ollama version. This is the Open WebUI version. If for some reason you know that there's some new feature that you want access to that needs a newer version, you can talk to me and I can update it. So that's the settings. Okay, now that we've looked at some of the user settings, let's look at the other two controls that are up here in the top right. The first one is this controls button. Valves, don't worry about them. We don't have any. System prompt is the same concept as the system prompt that was in your user settings. However, this system prompt only applies to this chat. The system prompt under your user settings, under general system prompt, applies to all chats, all models. This system prompt only applies to this model. If you have words like text in both, then both apply to this chat. So if you get weird stuff, maybe your system prompts conflict. Advanced parameters, don't worry about these. I do research whenever I upload these models to pick the best advanced parameters for the model as recommended by the model provider. Just probably don't touch this. And then there's temporary chat. So if you enable temporary chat, if you highlight over this, it'll say what it does. The chat will not appear in your history and your messages will not be saved. If for whatever reason you want to interact with the LLM and you want literally no record of it anywhere, you want me or anyone else who potentially gets access to my computer to never see your stuff, you can use temporary chat. Even when your conversation is in flight, I'm not able to see it, no one's able to see it. So this is the most secure, private way of using the model, using the website. However, if you do this, then it won't store your history even for you. So if you want to access, generation text that was created in the past with the temporary chat, you won't be able to do that once you refresh the window or log out, log in. If you disable temporary chat, this is kind of the normal modus operandum. So if you say hi, it'll say hi. It's using the memories we created earlier. Rick, fellow Star Wars fan. And if you look over at your sidebar, this Star Wars chat is here. If you do, disable that, start a new chat, temporary chat, and you say like, hello, it'll answer kind of similarly, but you won't see it over here. The Star Wars chat is the one that we just did. It's not this one. Once you refresh the page, close, come back, this disappears. So that's what temporary chat is. So if we refresh, Star Wars. If we, did I unclick the Star Wars fan? Maybe I did. I did. Okay. Delete. Let's try that again. Okay. So temporary chat. Hello. What is Latin? I don't know. So it talks about Latin as a language, yada yada, temporary chat. Okay. So now, if we go to some other chat, we try to come back, there's no path to get back to the temporary chat. If you refresh, the temporary chat doesn't exist. Temporary chat's not there. If you're in a new chat that you start as temporary and you say, what is a poodle? It'll tell you stuff about poodles. Cool. At any point, if you want a temporary chat to become permanent, you can click this button and it'll save the chat. And now it appears in your sidebar. You can access it in the future. You can always delete or archive chats if you want. But yeah, so that's how to use the temporary chat and the controls. Okay, now let's start doing some things with the chat. So we know how to make new chats. We know how to delete chats. We know how to set memories and pick what model we're using. Let's start from a relatively clean slate. So we can delete the memories, or I could have just hit this clear memory button. We'll save that. Okay, so we have no chat history, no nothing. Let's say we want to know who the current pope is. Who is the pope? So it thinks and it says, as of November 2025, the Pope of the Roman Catholic Church is Pope Francis. Now, it uses your system, like computer information, to derive the current date. It is, in fact, November 2025. However, the current Pope is not Pope Francis. He has been superseded or replaced, succeeded by Pope Leo. So you're like, oh, Carl, how do I, get access to relevant, recent information? What you can do is in this integrations button down here on the bottom left, you can click that and enable web search. And now, if you try to send the same question, who is the Pope? It searches the web. So this says it searched 31 sites, found 26 unique resources. The current Pope is Pope Leo, elected the 8th of May, 2025. Cool. So if you need access to relevant information, recent information, anything that's happened in the last year, probably you want to enable web search. It doesn't take that much longer, as you saw. But if you don't want to search the web, then web search can actually be harmful. So let's give another example. We'll start a new chat. Let's say I want it to read a document. You can click on More, click on Upload Files, and we'll go to Documents. Maybe we'll go to Downloads. let's look at resume. So this is a resume that I created a while ago. It's a PDF. I have a background service that converts PDF and docs and everything, Excel files, whatever you can imagine, into text that the LLMs can process. So I can say like, hey, without being biased, please review my resume. Do not be overly positive or negative in your analysis. Just be objective. What can be better? What are the strengths? Resume. What improvements do you recommend? Okay, so something like this, read a document for me, give me some feedback on it, and send. So it takes a second for it to read the document. It says retrieve the source. Okay, now it's generating the response. It's very wordy. Cool. So you can read all this, get your responses. Here's the issue. Here's why it matters. And then it's got like kind of a TLDR recommendation. Add a professional summary. Standardize the date formatting. I've got consolidate duplicate internships. Maybe I need to actually do that. Yeah, so there's some feedback that you can get. Then so it can read documents, it can search the web. If for some reason you had it search the web on this request, probably it would get you weird results because it'd be looking at like resumes on the internet and not looking at the document that you uploaded. Let's say you want it to, what else do we have in here? Oh, instead of just searching the web in general, you want it to analyze a specific website. So let's go to our favorite website, Wikipedia. What do we want to know on Wikipedia? How about the Roman Empire? Cool. So the Roman Empire, if we want to know stuff about the Roman Empire, we could read this Wikipedia page. It's pretty long. It's got a lot of sources. I don't know about you. That's a lot for me. So what I'm going to do is copy the URL, come back to the chat. So it doesn't confuse it with my resume. I'm creating a new chat. I'm going to attach the web page. I need to copy paste the web page. There we go. The Roman Empire, and click add. So now what it's doing is it's reading the entire web page. It's basically converting it to text. And then you can ask a question. You can say like, what years was the golden era of the Roman Empire? What led you to make that assertion? Okay, so we hit send. Got to read the document. It does that. Generates a answer. The longer the document, the longer it takes to read. So if you upload like a 50-page PDF, expect that to take a while. If you upload something that's one page, doc, text, PDF, that'll be in just a second or a couple seconds. So it retrieved the source. That means it finished reading the web page. And so then it talks about, okay, the period that most scholars refer to as the Golden Era is the Pax Romana, 27 BC to 180 AD, during the reign of the 5 good emperors. So, cool. Maybe you agree with that, maybe you don't agree with that. One thing to look at when you're generating responses in the chat is this info button. So just below the end of where it generated the response, you've got this little info button, little circle with an eye. This shows you how fast and how bulky the response in the text in the prompt was. So this one says at the top, response tokens per second is 96. That's actually relatively slow for this model. Prompt tokens per second is 3,600. That's how quickly it read a Wikipedia page. The prompt tokens is 71,000. That's like how long the input is. So the Wikipedia page is pretty long. That's why it took a while to generate or read it. The approximate total, how long the response took from start to finish, says 28 seconds. And the completion tokens, just above that, is 836. That's like how long the response was. So this is a relatively short response, 800 tokens. Okay, sure. If, for some reason, you don't like the response, now it's important to be careful here. LLMs are trained to give you responses that they think you will accept or like, not responses that are objectively accurate. So sometimes if you have prior information that suggests maybe the response is not correct, you may want to do this, which is try to generate the response again. So you can do that in two ways. Way number one is you can come up here where you submitted your prompt. You can hit edit and then send again. This is really if you're changing the prompt. So what years was the golden era of the Roman Empire? What led you to make that assertion? Maybe you want more information. You can say like, what led you to make that assertion? Who was the best emperor? Maybe you want to add that. You do that, you hit send, then it'll generate it as if that was what your original question was. If you just want it to regenerate the answer or the response to the question that you asked originally, you can come down here and click this regenerate button. So we'll do that and try again. So this will take another roughly 30 seconds for it to read the web page. Okay, so the web page has been read. It's thinking. Refers to the golden era, Pax Romana. This is the same thing. So if we compare this output with the previous output, Pax Romana, 5 good emperors, territorial peak. This one says Pax Romana, territorial peak, 5 good emperors, and then it mentions this other like culture and economical flourishing during this time. So that's how to use the regenerate button. That's how to look at the info button. If you think that the response was not long enough for you, you wanted more detail, you can always click continue response. And then it's going to basically append to the end of the response, more information. So it decided that it's going to give us a table of the various dates. Maybe that's sufficient for us. Okay. So those are kind of some of the more helpful buttons down here. And that's how to generate responses. You can also, there's going to be some like recommended or suggested prompts for the next iteration of the chat. You don't have to use these. You can use them as inspiration if you like one. So you can say like, what primary sources do historians rely on? You can click it and it kind of like auto submits it. So it's going to reread the web page, the Wikipedia page, and then, given all the information it has before and this new prompt, it's going to generate another response. So since the web page is really long, it takes, 30 seconds every time to read it. Okay, so it's generated some representative works, their impact, what category they're in, poetry of Virgil. That one's pretty important. Okay, so that's how to use some of the chat features. We'll do some more in-depth stuff here next. Okay. Now that we've done that, let's look at some of the reasons why we would or would not use, other models. So let's go to Vision. Now Vision is interesting. We'll start a new chat because it can analyze images. So if I say upload file and go to pictures, maybe I want it to look at maybe this isn't the right, maybe I should just go to the pictures folder. DCIM. Cool. So I've got this photo of me cutting some brisket. Let's see if it can figure that out. So what is this a picture of? So you upload, it uploads the image. I say, what is this a picture of? It'll take a little bit for the new model to load in because we were previously using this ChatGPT model. Now we're using this Vision model, so it's got to like page one out, page the other one in. That takes about 20 to 30 seconds. So it did that. What is this a picture of? So it says this picture shows a man slicing smoked or barbecued meat, likely brisket, on a wood cutting board wearing black gloves and an apron. Another person is observing, paper plates, yada yada. So obviously it saw the image. It's able to dissect the information. This can be pretty powerful. It's similar to like a Google reverse image search, except it doesn't actually search the internet. It's just able to like read the images. So you can use this as a part to a whole of a prompt. So we'll give another example. Let's say okay, so let's say we're going to give it this image. So it's an image of a chess piece, a little pawn that's imagining becoming a queen when it promotes. So I'm going to say, write me a children's story that draws inspiration from this image. So the pawn and the mirror of might. Okay. Interesting. So cool. So a lot of words. Moral, you're braver and more important than you think. Sometimes all you need is a mirror to remind you of the queen of courage already inside you. Small steps are mighty too. makes sense because if the pawn moves all the way up the board, it can promote to a queen or any other piece. Cool. So this is how you use the vision model. Yeah. Okay, now we're going to analyze the coder fast model. So we'll make a new chat, and we can say something like, please implement a C++23 solution to the traveling salesman problem in optimal runtime complexity. Okay, so it's got a page in the new model. This takes a minute. Okay, so it's starting to generate. One thing you'll notice here is it's generating code, and I think I have it set up as a default that code gets kind of compressed into this little expandable section. So you can hit expand, and then this shows you all of the code that it generated, and then it gives you some context on the code. So you can copy, copy paste the stuff from this generation. You can learn something about it. I don't know. I'm working on a feature where you'll be able to interact with a file system. Instead of copy pasting the code, you can have it generate files. You can then say okay, edit this file or read this file or create this directory or whatever. So that's something I'm working on. I have it working for me. I don't have it working for you. We'll get there. But that's coming in the works. So you saw how fast it generated all of this stuff. So if we look at this little info button, it says, okay, it was 126 response tokens per second, and 1,100 prompt tokens per second. The total time was 23 seconds. So it generated, 172 lines of code in 23 seconds. Pretty good. Definitely faster than I write code. However, it may not be accurate. One thing to watch out for, while this fast model has a really large context window, 100 million or 1 million tokens, it is a lower parameter model, 30 billion parameter, which means that it's less knowledgeable or less capable or more likely to make things up and hallucinate. So that's something to watch out for. You kind of gotta double check the work of these lower parameter models more. Let's switch to the big model. I'm disabling or paging out the fast model. Okay, so now we're on big. Let's have it do the exact same thing. So please implement a C++23 solution to the traveling salesman problem, optimal runtime complexity. We're going to hit this regenerate button, try again. But now it's using the big model. So this one is considerably slower. It's the largest model I have on the system. While I have a lot of GPU memory, this doesn't entirely fit on the GPUs. So basically there's small models that fit on the GPUs, which are super fast. There's large models that fit on the GPU, which are medium fast. And there's models that have to swap between the CPU and the GPU memory. And those are super slow, way down here. So this will take, a non-negligible amount of time just to load in. And then once it does, you'll see that it generates code a lot slower. However, the trade-off is that because it's a larger parameter model, it's supposed to be, more closer to a more objectively correct solution or something that you're going to accept, something that you're going to be in fewer iterations. So LLMs have this kind of process called, in-shot solution. So a shot is like a prompt submission, and the larger parameter models are, on average, better at lower in-shot solutions. So like a zero-shot solution or a one-shot solution means you only need to submit the prompt like once, and it comes up with the right answer, or optimal answer, or good enough answer on the first response. Whereas the lower parameter models like Code or Fast will generate responses that more likely than the big model require multiple iterations. So you'll copy the code, you'll test the code, you'll be like, oh, it's got this build error, or it's got this test error, or, whatever. It doesn't run. You have to kind of go back and forth with the smaller models more frequently. So that's kind of the trade-off. It's like, yeah, it takes longer for it to generate the code, or longer for it to generate the response, but in theory, it should be fewer back and forths. And since it takes time to like verify or double check what was generated, it can be beneficial to use larger models. My system can support models even bigger than this. My general experience with those is that it starts to DOS the system, so denial of service. So if you have two people, myself and someone else, or two users using the system at the same time, if anyone's using like a prohibitively large model, then everyone else that's trying to use the system just thinks it's broken. So to avoid that kind of bad user experience, I limit this as the largest model that I have right now. Maybe I'll change it in the future, but there aren't larger models that like have proven to me that they're worth the trade-off. So this one generated 122 lines of code, considerably less code. Maybe it's more accurate, maybe it's more optimal, whatever. Maybe it has less comments and it's just the code. I don't know. I'd have to like manually kind of side-by-side view the difference. But both of them have the same time complexity, or at least claim to have the same time complexity. So probably underlying is a similar implementation. If we look at the response tokens per second, we only had 11. So this was like 10 times slower, 11 times slower than the fast model. And it took almost 3 minutes to generate the response. So that's kind of the trade-off between the fast, the big models. And those are the only 4 that I have on the system now. So, pick and choose what you want. If it's not obvious, the ChatGPT is kind of the general one. Vision's for photos, Coder Big and Coder Fast are for coding tasks. You can use any model for anything except, Vision. Only the Vision model can look at images. But they can all search the internet. They can all read documents. They can all generate code. But like some of them are better at each of those tasks than others. So yeah, happy chatting.